thanks, Ben, for getting involved in this edition of the podcast. Um, Obviously, we've got 10 questions. There's going to be quite a few to get through.
Yeah.
I'm going to start you off actually with a really, really fun one. First of all, World Cup's coming up, 2026. I guess my question to you is, who do you think is going to actually win the World Cup this year?
Tough one, that. I mean, I'd love England to do it. You know, we've got so close in the past. So I think there will be a lot of expectation on England to at least get to the final. And fingers crossed they go all the way, but, you know, anything can happen. So, you know, heart is saying England, head's probably saying Spain, but I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting tournament, especially with all the politics surrounding it and the cost of the tickets and all that kind of stuff. So, just fingers crossed they go far in it.
I have to say, I personally think Spain's going to be probably my pick. My wife's German, so we've lived in Leeds now for 20 years. Obviously, she's going to be a big fan, hoping Germany win. I would love to see England win. I think this is a great chance for England. I think this is probably one of their best chances. So we'll see what happens anyway. But yeah, I agree with your picks there on Spain. So next question is, how did you actually get involved in kind of digital? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that know of you and your agency. Where did it all begin for you?
It also, I mean, I've always loved computers. Like when I was a kid, I found a ZX81 in the attic somewhere when I was, you know, I don't know what I was, about 6 or something like that. And you know, ZX81, very simple computer, but I loved just plugging it in and fiddling around with it and writing some basic code from the manual. So I've always had that passion, really, and I had an Amstrad CPC 464 and all that kind of stuff. And I really also was really drawn to TV adverts and media and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I used to notice all that kind of stuff when I was younger. So as I got to, you know, being a student, wanting to go to university, I picked something which kind of had that blend of media and computers. And I picked a really sort of practical degree where, you know, there was a lot of practical learning along with theory. So I was, you know, creating media, doing sound editing. I was doing video shoots. We learned to write in HTML, all that kind of stuff, and I really like the practical side of it. And all of that, the final year project, we did a film project combined with 3D animation and a promotional website. And that promotional website got my first job in the industry as a web designer. And yeah, it was strange. So that first job was at PlusNet, and I got there on the first day, and the guy who'd hired me had been sacked. So I was kind of like just shoved in the corner, left to my own devices, sort of thing.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, I stuck at it and eventually progressed into leading the web team, and then it broadened out into marketing as well, and helping sort of try and get people to the website as well as understanding how people transition through the website. So that's kind of how I got into it, really. And then after PlusNet, I got a job at a marketing agency as an account manager, and it sort of progressed from there, really.
Can I say that's interesting because, I mean, first of all, your degree being in media, highly linked to what you're doing. The fact that you started in web design, you know, from that angle, and then to work in account management, where you're obviously liaising with clients. So you've had this tremendous kind of induction into, you've got the complete 360 view. Do you know what I mean? From web design to the academic side of it, to actually integrating, working with teams, clients.
Yeah, and I think that really helps understanding the practicalities of stuff. You know, obviously web design has changed a lot since, but working with developers, understanding how to communicate with technical people. But then, you know, when you were doing account management, it was much more about the relationship and, you know, handling bad news stories as well as and being a bit more strategic about things. So yeah, it's that, you know, that whole blend of understanding the practical side of it along with the people side of it really helps. And also, you know, I've worked under lots of different leaders and different styles, and I know what bad looked like to me when I was, you know, a web designer, and what good looked like, and I've tried to use some of those learnings as well when I got into leadership.
Right. Okay. So the next question is, when you're not working, leading a team and building your business, how do you like to switch off? What's the kinds of things that you do when you walk away from the office?
I mean, I'm a Libra, which means you're quite a balanced person, if you believe all that kind of stuff. And I am, I do like that balance. If you're out of sync and you're working too hard, you other stuff suffers. So you've got to try and maintain that balance, and you can't always have it, right? There's always times where you gotta upset the apple cart a bit because there's so much to do. But broadly, you've got to really keep that balance. And one big thing for me is sport. Is exercise. It distresses you. It actually gives you more energy, even though you feel knackered after doing it. And it's evolving really. I used to really love football. Probably getting a bit old for that. The knees were a bit dodgy, so I got into squash a few years back. Really loved that. Got into golf during COVID. Not very good at it, but I like that. And actually, in the past year, I've started doing yoga,
Brilliant.
which is really good for energy and being calm and all that kind of stuff. Sport. If I don't do anything activity based in a week, I'll feel that pressure build up really. And then it's all just about family and friends, making sure you make time for seeing friends from way back, when you were younger, keeping in touch with those as well. And then family.
Which I must admit, I'm finding now as as I'm getting older, all my friends kind of live in different parts of kind of the world. They're all married, kids, it does get harder to kind of reconnect with, but it's important to have those relationships.
Yeah, you got to work at it like anything, haven't you? I've got friends from school who we still keep in touch, and we try and meet at least once or twice a year. And even if it's just that, you've still got that connection and that that ability to sort of switch off from everything and just be with people who knew you from the start, really, which is really important. And then spending time with your family. I've got two lovely girls, an amazing wife and a dog. So yeah, a lot of
Can I tell you right? So I've got two daughters. One's 9 and one's 16. Now, I've been asked. I have to ask you a question because Sky, who's my youngest daughter, I was walking her to school. I take her to school every day. We have started getting into every night an hour before she goes to bed. We have this kind of routine where we turn I think you said in your answers, we turn the phones off, turn TVs off. We have a bit of music on in the background and we play some board games. This week, now I've never played Scrabble in my life, believe it or not. I love chess, I love yoga, I love all that stuff. But we started getting into Scrabble. So me, my wife and the two girls. And obviously the first night we played it this week, we hadn't a clue what we were doing. We thought we were playing it the way it was meant to be played. So we watched a YouTube video yesterday, learned how to play it. And we've loved it. It's brilliant. So this week we've got into this kind of just sitting playing some board games. So anyway, I was walking my daughter to school and I said to her, I'm interviewing Ben. She obviously doesn't know who you are, but I said, there's a chap called Ben. He's going to be on the podcast. And I always like to get my kids to put forward a question. The question that Sky wants me to ask you is, what's your favorite board game?
Okay, well, this is interesting because we've got Yahtzee for Christmas, which isn't necessarily a board game, but it's a great family game, and we just play that quite a lot. It's brilliant. I can also recommend One Night Werewolf, which is like a group game, which is brilliant for kids and adults. It's a bit like The Traitors, but slightly quicker to play. So yeah, love those two. And board game. Back when we used to play a lot of board games, there was this game called The Game of Life, which I don't know if it's around anymore.
I've heard of it. I've never played it, but
I used to really enjoy that when I was a kid. But yeah, Yahtzee is the current family favorite. Right. Well, it's a modern game. It's you get an app and stuff. It's a 5-minute game. You will absolutely love it. Yeah. It's a great family game.
Now, can I just say on yoga, I 100% agree with you. So I don't play squash. I like badminton. I like doing a bit of running. Yoga, I started doing yoga a few years ago. I wanted to do it because of the flexibility and it's quite calming, relaxing. And I agree with you. I've seen myself go to a class where you're 100%, stress levels at 100%. And by the time I've come out of that class, it's vinyasa yoga. It's literally zero. And it's remarkable, the transformation. You can come back so happy and so calm and so chill 100%. And see things more clearly.
Yeah, well, I do something. It's called Moga, so it's a class which is exclusively for men. because I think it's maybe, I don't know, seen as more of a female
Yeah,
thing to do it,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
totally not. And
I
this,
know.
it's all sort of guys of a similar age, really, and come from all the different backgrounds, but you go into that class, you spend that hour, and you just come out and you just feel so
You do.
chilled.
You do.
Yeah, it's so
Okay.
good, and if I think I'm probably feel, the most flexible I've ever felt as well.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
so
I
it's great.
agree. I agree. Right. Listen, I could talk to you about this all day, but I'm looking down some of the questions. The next question is, tell me a fun fact about you.
So I've been on telly. So when the telly box was really famous, like back in the day, I was on Channel 4 in a documentary. So I lived on a street which was kind of like it had a dead end, so it was sort of like there was not no through traffic. So,
Like
and as
cul-de-sac?
kids,
Is it like a cul-de-sac?
yeah, pretty much
It's a
cul-de-sac. Yeah,
cul-de-sac,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, and it was all these sort of old houses, big gardens, and we were just left to, as kids, you just go out and play. You know what I mean? Like you go climb trees and make camps and ramps to drive your bike up and down and stuff like that. But one of the ladies in the street was a documentary maker, and one summer she literally sort of hid out in cars, and she had all these hidden cameras. And each morning we had to sort of put these sound packs on us so it pick the sound up. And she just filmed all these kids in the street playing and the politics they get into, and the I'm not friends with you, I'm friends with you, and the nasty things you
Yeah.
do to each other as kids. So yeah, and there was this 1 hour long documentary on Channel 4 which was just about following kids. There was no grown ups in it. And yeah, I was one of the kids that got interviewed and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Have you got a copy of it?
Yeah,
Got
it's
like
knocking about on the internet somewhere as well. So yeah,
I'd love to try and include like a little segment of it on this
yeah.
podcast. If it was
I'll
there.
set, it was called Woodbine Place. I'll send
Woodbine
you the
Place.
link to it afterwards. It's on the
That sounds
internet.
like the kids of Delgrassi Street, used
It
to go
is a
into
bit,
the
yeah, it is a
Woodbine
bit, and
Place.
yeah, it's quite brutal, really, what kids get up to when they're left to their own devices. But that's like, I think it's great, like we can't, as kids, they don't really get as much freedom nowadays. But you learn so much resilience, relationships, and all that kind of stuff from just being left to your own devices.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like, because now how old are your two girls?
Holly's 13, Jess is 10.
So, I mean, as a parent of kind of the girls, compared to your upbringing, we are so protective now, aren't we? It's like if your kid's going out, you have to be with them at all times, and what, don't run too fast in case you fall. Whereas you say you're
Yeah,
bloody going off
off you
ramps and
go.
climbing
Yeah,
up
see it tea
trees.
time sort of thing back then.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, it's totally different now. But and yours, there's this sense that you have to always be doing something with your kids. But actually, I think
yeah,
it's brilliant just to
yeah,
leave them to their own devices and
yeah,
get bored, and
yeah.
then they'll find something to get past that boredom.
Do you know what, that is spot on, because that is so relevant. It's like we have this in our house where the kids they've got so many things they can do, and you basically say to them, right, for the next hour, don't go on your kind of tablet, don't bloody watch YouTube or whatever, just
Yeah,
play a game or do something.
yeah,
And after about 2 minutes, they just like always whinging and complaining about, I'm bored.
yeah,
But you want to encourage them to be bored, because that's an important part of their development,
100%. And
have
it's,
that patience.
devices are so easy to
Yeah.
just take that attention. But yeah,
Mm.
we're quite controlled in how much access they have to that sort of
Yeah.
stuff because
Yeah.
it's important.
Okay, well, listen, next question. Okay, what one thing would you tell your younger self, um, that you know? Yeah,
It's a kind of a boring one, but it's about money really, and I would just say to just start investing as soon as you can. Even if it's 10, 20 quid a month, because compound interest is massive, and compound interest over from the age of 18 to the age of, let's say, 60, compared to if you start when you're 40 to the age of 60, there's a huge difference. Um, and I've always been a bit of a saver, but I never really invested when I was younger. And I think it's a lot easier to invest nowadays with all these online platforms than it ever has been. So just get some money into stocks and shares, ISA, as soon as you can. and start that
Okay.
process.
I'm gonna tell my kids to do that as well. Right, now we're gonna get into the slightly more business related stuff now. So what is the biggest opportunity that you see for digital marketers in 2026 and beyond? But let's just say for the next year or 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, just aligning that with what we do. Obviously, we're search marketers. Have been doing that for a long, long time. I think one of the things that is almost seen as a standard thing, but actually has seen a lot of change in the last year is paid search. It's a massive opportunity. The search result pages are in turmoil, they're changing a lot, and there's a lot of attention on AI overviews and that kind of stuff. But there's a study by a lady, Solis, who was looking at PPC ads, and they've actually overall click share from the search engine pages. PPC ads have gained up to 13 percentage points of that in the last year. So, if you're doing it, great, but look at your approach, make sure you're relevant, there's loads of new features have come into paid search, in the last couple of years. Lots changed, so make sure you're doing the best you can with it. And if you don't run paid search, it certainly should be a serious
Yeah.
consideration for some of that budget.
Yeah. And what about the biggest kind of challenges? I mean, obviously we'll cover AI a little bit after. But is there anything that you would say is the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a huge hype cycle, aren't we, at the moment? Like if you go on my LinkedIn, the world's ending, Google's finished, AI is the only way that people search for stuff now. I think don't get swept away with all the AI hype. Yes, it's a dramatic change, and we do need to utilize that channel as well. But look at the data, look at the numbers. We did run some numbers in a bit of a study on actually how many searches equivalent to Google does ChatGPT get, because people use ChatGPT for lots of stuff, and they did a huge study on this with about 3 billion sort of chats, and actually there's only a small subset of those which you could say were sort of similar to Google style searches, because people use it for analysis, for writing, all that kind of creative stuff as well. And we found roughly, if you look in proportion, ChatGPT's probably got about 6.3% compared to Google's. So still a vast majority of search-based activity is happening on Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also studies out there that show that AI is not replacing search as well. It's just people are using it as another channel, and the transition in between both. So it's still very much evolving. ChatGPT actually in the last 3 months is usage has decreased because there's other AI models coming out. Gemini is really good now, and a lot of people are using that, and that's grown. So it's a really in flux at the moment, the market. So just try and focus on the numbers, the data, and don't get swept up with that hype. I mean, we for us, a search strategy, it needs to combine traditional search but also AI assistants, because they are a growing element, but it's still probably a 90-10 split roughly.
Yeah. Thanks. Yep. All good stuff there. So, okay. What has been your proudest agency achievement? First of all, how long has the SEO Works been going for? It seems like
17
it's been on
17
17.
years. Yeah,
Wow.
so we're like, that's a long time in any business, but especially in digital when things
Yeah.
change quite a lot. I mean, one of our core values is adaptability, and it's being adaptable, fleet of foot, and ability to change, and that's
Yeah.
one of the probably reasons we're still around. Really, we've evolved with the market.
Yeah, I remember because I joined Sticky Eyes. My first entry into digital marketing was 2012 with Sticky Eyes. I was there originally kind of covering the head of marketing who was on maternity. And I ended up, I was there for a few years. And then obviously I set up what I'm doing. But the SEO Works, I always even remember them then. It's like, you have been going quite a long time. You've not just like popped up 5 years ago. So you've got a long history in what you're doing. What has been your biggest achievement, proudest achievement as an agency owner?
Well, recently, just last year, which was that transition to being employee owned as an agency. And that's a massive step because it's great for everyone in the business. And it encourages that sense of ownership. You know, they're all now employee owners. And obviously there's a transition. It's very early days, but ultimately we felt that that approach really lines up with what we're about, which is about our people, you know, happy people, happy service, better growth, better clients, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the future's great because it means everyone will have a stake in what we do and the
Yeah.
success that we achieve moving forwards.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, hopefully that'll mean more great results for clients because everyone's even that much more bought in because they own part of the agency.
Yeah. Can I give you kind of an observation? And I'm sure you've been asked this before. So the SEO Works, when I think about the SEO Works, the name SEO Works, but then I look at how search has evolved, as you've just said. You know, for anybody that doesn't know the SEO Works, you would think it's just purely SEO. Have you ever been asked about the name, possibly rebranding the name, evolving the name, or is there a reason why it's kind of, you know, it's always going to be called the SEO Works?
I mean, we've discussed it several times, really, but one thing that we do have is that history, that heritage, and that external presence of our brand, the SEO Works. And that's really important in AI world. You know, you can't build that history overnight, and it does a lot to show what we're about, and it hasn't altered our ability to also offer other search services.
Yeah.
You know, so we've done paid search for 12 years or so now, and that's a big part of the business. You know, we do digital PR, we build websites as well, and it hasn't altered our ability to offer other services which are related to digital growth. So, you know, you see a lot of companies that rebrand and they lose, you know, a lot of their online footprint overnight. So it's, you know, it's quite a big thing having that 17-year history, because we can talk about that, but once you speak to a client, you know, you can explain that you know, you do not just SEO, you do everything around search. And you know, the whole AI stuff is, there's still not really a name for it yet. Some people are calling it AI SEO, some are calling it GEO, some are calling it LEO, all that kind of stuff.
It always amazes me, Ben, because I'm seeing on LinkedIn a lot of people who are changing their titles, even their titles, where everything's now evolved. It's like, you know, as if they're AI gurus and they've built up like 10, 15 years of all this knowledge, but people are just jumping on some sort of trend and then next year, 2 years down the line, they'll change their name or title to something completely different.
Absolutely. But what we've found, I mean, obviously where we do work on our own brand as well, and obviously we're very strong in Google, which helps AI models. But we've also been doing a lot of work of being featured in ChatGPT and that kind of stuff for our brand, and that's about making sure LLMs are clear about what we do, and how we present ourselves, as well as continue to get those brand mentions across the web. So we're actually really visible in LLMs as well because of the continual work we do.
Next question I've got, Ben, is, and we're nearly finished. Actually, we've rattled through quite a few of these now. So, what one thing would you have done differently? So, okay, so if you could go back to now starting the SEO Works 17 years ago, what would you have done differently if there was such a thing?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because a lot of agencies, I suppose, when they start, they work on referrals, they go to business network and that kind of stuff to build it up, and kind of we did all that, and I think you find sort of agencies can generally get to like around a 1 million turnover mark with that approach. But if you really want to scale, you've got to start practicing what you preach, which is marketing. You know, if you're a marketing agency, it's amazing how many marketing agencies out there don't do the marketing, or their own marketing, or they don't do it consistently. They do it sporadically. And you know, it's hard. You know, when you're small and you're starting up, and there's so many different things to do. Actually, invest in some marketing budget is a really big ask. And it took us, you know, quite a while to get there. But the minute we said, right, we're going to invest in this, we really want to get marketing behind us and have a dedicated person in the business to achieve that. The value we saw from that was massive, and it just builds on the brand and gets that out to more people and gets your perception in the industry up a lot higher. So
Well,
you
you are
know,
very visible. I mean, obviously the SEO works, in my opinion. I mean, obviously marketing is kind of my background. It's kind of what I've always kind of done. And obviously, you've obviously done a good enough job even before then, I have to say, because the SEO works for me. We're never an agency that were unheard of or unseen. So I know you've always won awards and entered awards, and you obviously speak. You publish a lot of papers and research and things. So yeah, you can only get stronger.
absolutely, yeah. But yeah, bringing the marketing person in, because otherwise it's the agency owner who has to do it, and they're so drawn out across everything else. Having that dedicated focus really just elevates it.
Good news is you've got one last question. So on the subject of AI, um, what's the good and the bad? If you were, and we don't need to make this a big 20-minute conversation because you could go into so much detail. In your opinion, what's good about it, and what do you think is the real danger of it?
I mean, it's such a broad question that.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I think that stepping back and looking at it from a big picture, the big danger is that as generations evolve with it, does it lose? Do people start to lose their own cognitive ability to
yeah, yeah,
critically analyze stuff?
yeah,
And is a learning impact from that? And that you'll not see that over. It'll take 2 generations really to get to that. Um, I think more immediately, there's a lot of AI slop out there. People aren't using it right. They're just creating crap, which isn't of value to anyone. Like my LinkedIn, a lot of comments now are just generic AI comments. It's like, well, what is the point? Um, a lot of sort of social media feeds a lot of AI crap as well, which is frustrating. And I think people will start to reject it probably as it
yeah,
goes on.
yeah,
But on the flip side, it's so powerful. Um, we're looking at AI and how it can join our internal data and our systems to make things smoother or create better insights. Like one thing we've just done recently, sorry, is when we get a new client on,
mm,
we built this system which pulls all the previous the
mm,
sales conversations that the
yeah,
sales team have been having with from HubSpot and distills that into a summary
yeah,
for the account manager.
yeah,
And then it goes off and it builds the project in our project
yeah,
management system with all the documents.
yeah,
And so it's kind of like drawing data and insights from different places and creating something which would have taken, an hour to sort of do manually, if you like. So it's things like that where, oh my God, it's just if you can get it in your business and find small use cases and just start layering them in, the cumulative impact will be huge.
yeah. I mean, stepping away even from AI, what I'm seeing with my two daughters are, especially the older one, the 16-year-old. She's kind of, I think she's rejecting kind of the fast-paced culture now. I'm seeing from her, like for example, she's really into buying vinyl, um, DVDs, buying physical books. Really, she wants to try and have a slower pace and try and
Yeah,
have meaningful relationships. She still has lots of sleepovers with her friends. They do board games, which is lovely as a parent to see, because the biggest fear is when you see the technology and how it can go, you know. But I'm seeing now with my children, like they're embracing sometimes a slower, more authentic, personal way of life, which I think the danger is with AI. It robs that from people, but I do think there will come a time, as you say, there's all this slop and garbage out there where the rejection, people are going to become very reject all these things unless it's adding value or it's
that's it.
meaningful.
And it's difficult because I don't think governments can really regulate it
I
because
know.
it's such a fast moving thing.
Yeah.
So you've just got to hope that people who are using it are trying to use it for good. And and yeah, and ultimately, there might be this tipping point of rejection of technology. If like your daughter's an example, consciously saying, this is making us less human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so it's going to be really interesting the next 20 years.
Well, listen, Ben, thanks very much for taking part in this. Um, is there anything coming up in the next 6 months at the SEO Works that you want to share?
I mean, listen, we're digital growth experts. We've been around for so long, and we're working in this modern age of combined search, and we do offer free LLM audits, looking at your website from an AI point of view, as well as SEO audits. So if you want us to come and look at what your website is about, how it can be improved, how it can help you in this evolving age, you just knock on our door. We'll happily, audit your site for free and give you some pointers.
Ben, if you've got a link, if you can email me separately afterwards, what I'll do on the description when I post this on YouTube and Spotify and stuff, I'll put like a little link in there. So if anybody does want to take you up on that offer,
Absolutely, yeah.
we'll do that. But thanks very
Great.
much, Ben.
No,